This Monday evening, Jews around the world will gather to celebrate the holiday of Passover. I hope that you will also be part of a Seder. When you're sitting around the table, you may be asking yourself, why am I doing this? It's Monday night. I'm usually not around the place with a bunch of people sitting and eating flatbread and some other stuff delicious like horseradish, onions, etc., etc., etc. So the most common answer, of course, is that we are here this evening to celebrate the redemption of the Jewish people who had been enslaved by a wicked Pharaoh over 3,300 years ago. And by the grace of God, he sent his loyal servant Moses, and through a number of tricks, such as awesome plagues, the Jewish people were released from Egypt. And tonight is the celebration that we celebrate freedom. All right. Now, that's probably the right answer. The other thing that I want to talk about today is one small little technicality that the Torah itself brings to mind. And that is when the Torah says, why are we doing this evening? It mentions the important part about tonight is the idea of children. That we want to be able to relate this message to our children. It's an educational exercise. Because dinner on Monday evening you can have all the time. A Seder on Monday evening comes but once a year. And if you notice, looking around your table, you'll notice a lot of symbolic ideas and things that are on the table just for the sole purpose of eliciting curiosity from the children. Let me give you a couple of examples. As you're looking around the table, you're going to see a Seder plate. On the Seder plate is usually a chicken neck, an egg, some horseradish, a thing that looks like mud, which is called charosis, another thing like some parsley, which is something else going to be used, used in the Seder, and then some more horseradish. And you may think to yourself, what are all these things? Well, guess what? That's a perfect place to start educating your children. Now, of course, you need to know the reason why. So I suggest go onto Google and find out the meaning and the symbols of the Seder plate. What the egg means, what the chicken egg means, why the horseradish, all of these things. And they're placed there specifically so children should look around and say, Daddy, Mommy, Zadie, Bubby, whoever's the closest in earshot, why are we doing all of these things tonight? Now, another thing is, for example, we're going to be dipping tonight. Dipping is a big thing. Now, I know that dipping is not really something special here in America because we've got a lot of dipping places. You dip this into that, but you don't usually dip onions in salt water. That has not caught on yet much in the United States of America. Now, you may be of the inclination to dip a potato in salt water, parsley in salt water, yourself in the salt water. And there's a bunch of different customs that people do. And your kid might say, onions in salt water doesn't exactly tickle my fancy. Why do we do it? Specifically for the reason of getting children curious. You see, because Moses and Aaron went up to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah, God said to them, you know what, I need a guarantor. I'm giving you one of my most precious gifts, if not the most precious gift. I want to know, I need to know that it's going to be kept properly. Can you guarantee it? So Moses said, well, look, we got Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I mean, they guarantee it, but they're gone. They passed on. So Moses then said, how about me and my brother? Oh, well, you and your brother, great people, wonderful guys, dedicated. I have to say, you're very dedicated. But eventually you too, you and your brother will go the way of all men. So Moses thought. And then he said, you know what? Our children will be our guarantors. We're going to guarantee that every generation we will educate our children in the ways of the Torah. And this will guarantee and ensure that the Torah will be passed on from one generation to another generation to another generation. When God heard that, he said, that's what I want to hear. I'm accepting. So part of this guarantee is on the Seder night to make sure that your children are just not sitting there and behaving properly. First of all, it's going to be pretty hard to keep them quiet during the whole retelling of the story. So don't even try. You want to incorporate them, get them involved. The more you explain to them, the more you get them to ask questions, there's a greater chance that one day they will be sitting at the Seder and doing it to their children. If you don't get them involved, if you figure out they're only little props to talk about, well, I got 2 and I got 1.5 and mine is this and mine does that and mine has been this and mine, it doesn't work. Make sure that you don't allow the Seder evening to go past you without using this as a tremendous educational tool. Ask them questions. Get them to start thinking about things that you would not normally talk about on a regular evening. Believe me, coming to a Seder is an experience. For some, it's a wonderful experience. For some, it's a burden. But if you're there ready, make the most out of it. And if you have children around the table, and even if you don't have children around the table, let me tell you, education never ends. Even if you're 65 years old and you're still curious, that's great. Educate yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you a happy and a healthy holiday. But most important, I want to wish you an educational holiday. So you go to bed at night on Monday evening and you can say to yourself, you know what? Today was great. But why was it great? Because we learned something. And I know that my kids are better off for it. Thanks for listening. We're going to be off for a couple of weeks because of the Passover holiday. So I'll catch you at the end. See you later. Enjoy the matzah. Tulalu.